So here we are in Hungary for the 10th round in the 2015 Formula 1 season. And with the season just before the halfway point, people's attention turns to look back and evaluate the season to date. And one big talking point is Nico Rosberg's season. A dodgy qualifying session in Australia qualified in 10th, and a controversial 5-second penalty put him down from 3rd to 5th. Malaysia, he had an engine failure. China, he had a flat tyre come the end of the race, which meant he finished 11th. Then he was pipped at the post by his teammate in Bahrain, and then a questionable tyre strategy in Spain put him only 4th. He was disqualified in qualifying in Monaco and was held up by Mary in the race, which meant he only got 9th. Canada, and he was nowhere near the pace of his teammates all weekend, and after being passed by Vettel and receiving another controversial 5-second penalty, created another 4th place finish. Choosing not to qualify in Q3 in Austria hurt his race as he finished only 4th yet again. Then last time out at Silverstone, a catastrophic first lap saw him drop from 1st to last, but yet finish with his 4th place of the season. And for a true title contender in the quickest car on the grid, his season has been shambolic so far, as shown in the Drivers' Championship standings. So can he finally up his game for the 10th race of the season here in Hungary and beat both Ferraris and his teammate Lewis Hamilton? Well, let's find out. The first qualifying session in Hungary around the Hungaroring circuit started with a forecast for potential rain showers despite the beautiful sunshine that was out in full force. Anyway, the session started with a very slow lap from Jenson Button that eventually saw him in 15th and faster than only the manner of Will Stevens. So Button had to start a second stint on the same set of tyres to try and improve his grid position, which he was able to do as he jumped up to 8th, which later became 13th, and so Button made it through to Q2. Button's progression meant that the cars eliminated were Will Stevens in 20th, with Murray just ahead. Ericsson qualifies in 18th, Button's teammate Alonso is in 17th, and finally Perez is the last car to be eliminated in 16th. The second qualifying session started, and the weather held up despite the continued forecasted wet weather. However, Kvyat drove as if there was torrential rain, as he was thrown into a very violent spin that ruined his session through the damage to his car. Button ended up being the slowest of the session and was ahead of only Kvyat after his qualifying incident meant he didn't set a time. Carlos Sainz will line up 13th for tomorrow's race, Hülkenberg in 12th, and Verstappen was the final car to be eliminated in 11th. Q3 came and went, and the top 10 start with Felipe Nasr in 10th and Maldonado just ahead. Then it's Grosjean in 8th and Ricciardo in 7th, followed by both Williams headed by Massa, then the two Ferraris with Vettel in front, and finally the two Mercedes led by Lewis Hamilton. So here we are on the grid with beautiful blue skies above, and one thing I want to quickly clear up is why I'm not driving as certain drivers. Now, I drive as Jenson Button on tracks of short straights, for the power disadvantage that the McLaren's got. Will Stevens in a track where I can get an upset result like Monaco or Singapore, and then for tracks of long straights it's Lewis Hamilton if we need to help him in the Drivers' Championship, and Felipe Massa in the Williams if we need to help Williams in the Constructors' Championship. And that's why I drive as certain cars for certain drivers for certain races. But anyway, here we are on the grid for the Hungarian Grand Prix with the lights going out, starting in 14th, and away we go for the Hungarian Grand Prix. Got off to a bit of a snaky start there, but we put up into rich mix. We've actually lost the place to Daniel Kvyat and Sergio Perez. So we're down into 16th from 14th, but we're going to make the move down the inside of loads of cars. We're up into 11th, and there seems to be a bit of a ding-dong between Maldonado and Nasr, which meant that we are now in 9th place, which is fantastic. Jumped from 14th to 16th to 9th, and now we're actually catching up ever so slightly with Romain Grosjean and the front runners ahead. But I don't think we're going to catch up to them anytime soon. But let's have a replay of the start. As you can see, everybody seems to have got away well there. But let's have a look. Let's have a look at where we are. So we just make the move just down the inside of everyone. So just, you know, late on the brakes. Now let's have a look at what happens between Nazza and Maldonado. They just seem to half spin. They seem to lock wheels and half spin into each other. And that's how we were able to get past both of those two. And now, but the problem is we have got Maldonado in the Mercedes-powered Lotus directly behind us. So he's being a massive threat. You know, obviously with the power advantage he's got. Although this track isn't one for straight line speed. So that's a good thing, I suppose. And Grosjean's over 2 seconds ahead of us, with Maldonado just a few tenths behind. So it's looking unlikely we'll catch up to Grosjean, and Maldonado should catch us up pretty soon. But 5th lap and he still hasn't overtaken us, which is a bit weird. And now here's Lewis Hamilton. You know, he's being taken from Nico Rosberg. So Rosberg has passed Lewis Hamilton into 1st place. And, you know, Hamilton's been demoted from from 1st to 2nd. So that's not very good for him and his championship charge. And now he's going to be dropped down from 2nd to 3rd. So Hamilton has gone from 1st to 3rd in the space of 2 or 3 laps, with Nico Rosberg leading. So he's actually improved. You know, on that intro, he's actually looking good for a race win at the minute. But anyway, as you can see, Hamilton's actually, he's still got 2nd place for the time being. He's actually battling with Sebastian Vettel, but Vettel pushed Hamilton out wide, but Hamilton is still there, and he's going to have the inside line for this corner. But Sebastian Vettel, no, he hasn't been able to pull out enough of an advantage. And now Sebastian Vettel, he's definitely got in front of Lewis Hamilton, and now Vettel is in 2nd. Nico Rosberg quite a way out in 1st, so he's looking good for the race win, and that will be his 1st one of the season, surprisingly. And he's actually upped his game, you know, in the intro we said he needed to. And he looks like he finally has, but as you can see, Maldonado's quite a way behind us, over a 2nd behind us. He's outside DRS range, and, you know, the gap to Grosjean is still, you know, just over 2 seconds, so our pace is looking strangely good, because we're on par with Lotuses at the minute. And now this is just a lap or 2 later, and this is Felipe Nasr trying to pass Pastor Maldonado, because Maldonado is going very slowly, weirdly, and Nasr easily able to get past Maldonado. It's quite strange to see, you know, Maldonado go so slowly considering the straight line speed he's got. But no, Maldonado's got back ahead actually, and is Felipe Nasr going to hang it around the outside in that Sauber? Has he? No, but he's got the inside line for this corner, and I think he's going to finally... Yep, he's pushed Maldonado out wide, and Nasr has now got just behind us, and that means he is now in 10th place, I believe. Yep, he's in 10th place, and Grosjean's going very slowly. So what on earth has happened here? We've been able to catch up that 2.5 second gap, and we're right behind him here. How are we going to make the move by Romain Grosjean? This would be amazing if we can make the move on Grosjean into 8th place, and it looks like we have. He's going very slowly, he broke very early. I think the tyres have just degraded so badly on his car, and we seem to have much better tyre life than him. And there you go, we've been able to get past Romain Grosjean. Bottas is the next guy ahead, but he's way ahead. It's unbelievable. But we're going into the pits for our first pit stop. Pretty much everyone else is coming in at the same time as us, so it looks like this should be a routine stop if the McLaren guys can get it right. And it looks like being held up by a couple of cars, actually, being held up by the Lotus and the Sauber, but we've been able to retain our 8th place, so that's all that really matters here. Oh, 9th place actually, Nico Hülkenberg has gone past, and I can tell you Hülkenberg was actually doing a free stop strategy. So he's already stopped, and you know, he's been able to use the fresh tyres as well as being in clean air to actually get past us. So Hülkenberg's gone from nowhere to being in 8th, but because he's doing a free stop, he's going to be pitting that extra time, so we won't have to worry about Hülkenberg too much for the time being. And now skipping on just a couple of laps later, and I think Nico Hülkenberg is actually in the pits, and amazingly we've still been able to retain our lead over Romain Grosjean. So we're in P9 for the time being, and is Hülkenberg not in the pits? I don't think he is actually. Okay, so completely scrap that, but Grosjean was going to make the move on us. Has he made the move on us? I think he has actually. Now Grosjean is in 9th actually, well what is essentially 8th place once you take out Hülkenberg. But Grosjean locking up the brakes there from Romain Grosjean, but I think he's been able to make the move and stick it to Jenson Button. So now Button is now in 10th, but as we saw, Grosjean was very slow come the end of his stint, but we don't even need to worry about the end of the stint. He's actually caught up to Hülkenberg, and Hülkenberg's going very slowly. He's actually holding up Romain Grosjean for us, so now Hülkenberg's going to peel off into the pit, so we now we're now in 9th place because of that. But now we can have DRS on Roman Grosjean, but Grosjean's going to have DRS on Nico Hülkenberg, I think. But can we actually use the DRS to our advantage and make the move on Roman Grosjean and do a dive bomb move? It's almost like a Daniel Ricciardo move, as he did in real life in the real life 2015 Hungarian Grand Prix. But it's worked for us, and we're now in 9th place. And now Max Verstappen was caught up in that overtake. So let's have a look at that. So we get past Grosjean. Grosjean was pushed out wide, and Verstappen was just caught up in that, really. Grosjean just pulled in front of him. Max Verstappen was quite unlucky in that, to be honest. And now we got Felipe Massa and Kimi Raikkonen trying to make the move on each other here. So what happens is, so Kimi Raikkonen goes around this corner, pushes out Felipe Massa. They actually lock wheels and they get pushed out wide. And now Felipe Massa's lost the part of his front wing, and Raikkonen's just lost a lot of time for that. And Valtteri Bottas has been able to get past Kimi Raikkonen, which is phenomenal for the Williams boys, actually. But Massa's going very slowly due to that lack in downforce, and Bottas didn't realise how slowly Massa was going to be going, and now Bottas has lost all of his front wing, and Massa has lost a lot of time, but has been passed by Raikkonen, and has lost part of his front wing. So both Williams guys are going to have to come into the pits, and Raikkonen amazingly didn't get any damage from that, so he won't be in the pits. As you can see, we're going to be into 6th place, which is only temporary because both Williamses have had to pit, but that actually was round about the pit stop time anyway, so that hasn't cost the Williams boys too badly, but they have had to double stack, which is going to harm Felipe Massa there. But anyway, we're still holding 6th place. Amazingly, we've still been able to fend off Roman Grosjean, but our tyres are completely dead. As you can see, we're scrolling around, and Roman Grosjean has actually pitted a lap early. I think he's trying to get the undercut. He's going to try and pit early, you know, try and set a very quick outlap and jump us, as well as, you know, the clean air he'll be in. We'll see if that will work for him. As you can see, a lap later, we're going to be pitting him with Daniel Kvyat in the car now directly behind us, who's just been really far behind. He's just been stuck, you know, behind this battle that we've been in, and the train we can't have held up the whole race. So he's actually, you know, done very poorly, and we're in P7 now, P8. So now Hülkenberg's got past us, and both the Williamses have. And now what is going on? We've actually been held up by some of the cars, and Daniel Kvyat has been able to jump us as we were held up in our pit box by some of the cars. But that now means we actually lost a place to Daniel Kvyat. And I can tell you, Roman Grosjean has already got past this. He's a few seconds ahead of us already, so we probably won't be seeing him for the rest of the race. So now we got to worry about Daniel Kvyat. Obviously, we're both on cold tyres. We're going to see if we can utilise the cold tyres to our advantage. As you can see, this is just a few corners later on. Now, are we going to make the move on Daniel Kvyat? Obviously, we're going to utilise, you know, the fact we're both on cold tyres. He's not going to have much confidence in his car, and been able to make the move at that chicane. Really, if we left the move any later, the Red Bull would have got up to speed, and that would have been it. We're in 10th place at the minute. Grosjean just ahead. Well, I say just ahead. He's quite a way ahead, actually, so that undercut really did work for him. Kvyat now was trying to make the move. We now got to defend Kvyat, who was much quicker than Grosjean and Maldonado were early on in the race, and Felipe Massa for that matter. Now here's Hülkenberg going in for his 3rd stop. He was actually ahead of a Williams there and Roman Grosjean, so Hülkenberg must have been in 6th place, I think, off the top of my head. So Hülkenberg's done very well from this, but he's going to do an extra stop, so that's going to drop him down massively. So the free stop is actually a strategy I planned to use at the start of the race until it looked like I was going quicker than Grosjean, and then I actually switched to the 2 stop. But it's a good thing I didn't do the 3 stop by the looks of it, because Hülkenberg, we've passed him already, and it looks like Hülkenberg is actually going to rejoin quite a way down the order, and he's behind the Sauber. That isn't even Nasser, that's Marcus Ericsson, and that's Verstappen, who got caught up in that accident earlier on. So that shows how far behind Hülkenberg is, and that's a good thing I actually did the 2 stop this race and not the 3 stop like I was originally planning. And now here's Pastor Maldonado. What's going on here? He's pulled off the track. I think he's going to retire his car. His car just clonked and clonked, and he's had to retire there. So some car failure on his car there, maybe a drive shaft failure, I don't know. But Lewis Hamilton's been able to get back past Sebastian Vettel, and Lewis Hamilton is in 2nd. Now we'll see if he can make the charge on his teammate Nico Rosberg, and if Hamilton can actually, you know, take 1st place from him. But now coming back onto our battle, we're in 9th, which is good because we got past Hülkenberg, so we're in 9th. So if Kvyat does get past us, we'll still be in a points place. But really, 2 points is much better than 1 point at this moment in time, and now Kvyat's going to have DRS on us. And he's easily been able to get past us, despite, you know, the fact he's got a Renault engine. He's been able to get past us quite easily and try and make the move. It hasn't worked. We're quite a way behind Daniel Kvyat, and unless we make the move in the next couple of corners, I think the position is well and truly lost. You see, we're in desperation, we're running wide around that corner, but Daniel Kvyat, I think, with 2 laps to go, has taken 9th place from us, and that's really quite tragic actually. But Nico Rosberg has won the race, so he's been able to transform his season, which was shambolic as we saw in the intro. He's able to take his first race win of the season. But Jenson Button has been able to take a very decent result, 10th place in the McLaren Honda, while it could easily have been 9th. 10th place is still very good for the struggling McLaren team. See, Jenson Button looks very happy. He could have got 9th place quite easily, maybe 8th if he pitted a lap earlier and stuck with Grosjean, but, you know, it's still a very decent result. Anyway, Nico Rosberg's been able to improve his season massively. He's in 1st, Hamilton in 2nd, with both Ferraris behind, with Vettel in 3rd, Raikkonen 4th, Bottas 5th. And see, Grosjean in 8th, so he did very well once he left our train. Nico Hulkenberg in 15th, so his 3-stop really didn't work, so I'm glad I switched to the 2-stop strategy in the end, with the only retirement being Pastor Maldonado in the end, with Max Verstappen down 17th, so his accident he got caught in really hurt him a lot there. Anyway, on to the Drivers' Championship, and as you can see, Lewis Hamilton is still leading it despite Nico Rosberg's win. In fact, Nico Rosberg's win means he's actually jumped Felipe Massa, and Rosberg is now in 5th and is actually catching up to the Ferraris and Lewis Hamilton, but Hamilton is still leading the championship with a comfortable gap to 2nd place man Kimi Raikkonen. Then on to the second half of the Drivers' Table, and Will Stevens is still leading the second half of the Drivers' Table with his epic 4th place in Monaco, which means he's 13th. Jenson Button is in 16th and is still just behind Felipe Massa, but Button's 10th place here may prove to be pivotal come the end of the season, with Roberto Merhi still being the only driver not to have scored any points so far. On to Constructors, and Ferrari are still leading it despite a Mercedes 1-2, but Mercedes have now caught up to their rivals Ferrari. So it is heating up now, the battle for 1st place in the Constructors between Mercedes and Ferrari, with Williams still comfortably in 3rd, and the battle for 9th between McLaren and Sauber has heated up as Sauber weren't able to score any points this race, and with Jenson Button's one and only point this race, means the battle for 9th in the Constructors is heating up a lot. Finally onto the Nations Table, and Finland are still dominating it despite the accidents that Kimi Raikkonen and Valtteri Bottas got involved in this race. Germany is 2nd quite comfortably, with Russia and Australia joint 3rd, but Russia ahead thanks to Kvyat's 2nd place way back in Australia. Anyway guys, I hope you enjoyed this episode. Be sure to leave a like, a comment, what you thought of this race, and next time we'll be at the epic Belgian Grand Prix around the legendary Spa-Francorchamps, and I could tell you because I've already recorded that race, it is a fantastic race with some changeable conditions. Will we expect any different from Spa? So I'll see you for that next race. So I'll see you then.